Okay, so this is chapter 2, part 3 of Wicca and Witchcraft for Dummies. So basically we're talking about the different ways to honor gods, goddesses, and many. So we also honor the self. Okay, for some Wiccans, deity might be the higher self, the deep self, or the soul self, or a symbol arising from the unconscious mind. Some Wiccans honor, worship, or seek to communicate with their own higher self, deep self, or soul self. Some consider it to be the divine energy emanating from within. Most Wiccans believe that people have a level of consciousness or some other part that transcends time and space. This consciousness is the essence of who we have been, who we are, and who we will always be, our own individual truth. These Wiccans turn inward rather than outward for spiritual growth and fulfillment. So some Wiccans, rather than believing that there's an external gods and goddesses and energy, some Wiccans, deity and or truth lie only within the human mind and imagination. Deity may be a truth or an insight arising from the personal unconscious mind or the collective unconscious shared by all human beings. Now, for definition, the unconscious mind has two parts, okay? The personal unconscious is the location of everything that isn't presently conscious, but it can be, including memories that you can call up easily and those that you have buried deep within your mind. Now, there's also the collective unconscious, which holds the accumulated knowledge and experiences of all humankind and possibly animals. It's the inherited part of the brain. It holds instincts, which are natural patterns of behavior. Instinct tells a bird to build a nest, a turtle to go to the water. Humans also have instinctive ways of behaving. We learn things like fight or flight. We learn that people can recognize faces in nature because it's a self-defense mechanism. There's a lot of instinctual things that happen to us as human beings that have been passed down through us through the collective consciousness, not through upbringing. It's the same way that animals have instincts and don't have to be trained to have those instincts. So the thing is, when you are dealing with the unconscious mind, it doesn't have language to express these human behaviors and experiences. Its communication only takes place in pictures. It uses symbols. A symbol is an image or an object that represents something else. The collective unconscious uses archetypes, symbols that are common to all humans. An archetype is not an image, but a tendency for humans to represent certain ideas with a specific symbol. These symbols appear in religions, dreams, myths, fairy tales. The Earth Mother is an example of an archetype. Some Wiccans believe that when they communicate with deity, they are reaching this symbolic information in their own minds. A person can be an agnostic or an atheist and still practice Wicca. Wicca is a very big tent. Every individual's perception and experience of deity is unique. Although Wiccans debate the issue, most would rather preserve their own freedom to worship as the spirit leads them rather than conform to a common doctrine about deity. So they have a paragraph here about Wiccans not being Satanists. And I really want to explain it because it touches on a point that I made earlier, but I'm going to explain their way of reading. Although Wiccans hold varying beliefs about deity, Wiccans do not believe in or worship Satan. Satan, as the opponent of God and the embodiment of evil, is a Christian concept. Wicca is a revival of pre-Christian nature religion. Wiccan belief and practices are rooted in a time well before the Christian era. Now, historically, the Catholic and Protestant churches regarded witches as followers of the Christian Satan. During the widespread witch hunts of medieval and Renaissance times, the churches falsely accused alleged witches of consorting with and worshiping the Christian devil. Actually, most of the accused were Christians and not witches. So they would actually create these documents. They would find a woman who was not so well, maybe experiencing some mental health issues. They would get this woman to sign an affidavit that said that she was consorting with the devil, having intercourse with the devil. And they would get this woman to explain it in a courtroom. They would poke and prod her until she would explode in rage and talk about the devil and the demons and all of the things. And then they created this narrative that that's what witches stood for. And then they would take these affidavits and force women to sign them. And if they didn't sign them, they were burned as a witch. They would also take women and tie ropes to their feet to a giant rock and throw them in the river. And if you survived, you were a witch and would be burned at the stake. But if you drowned, you were innocent, still dead. If you were a woman who owned land and her husband had passed away, women technically couldn't own land. So if they took it from you, there was no way of getting it back. Medicine wanted to be controlled by men. The narrative of the Christian religion controlled everything with men. They didn't want midwives and healers to have the knowledge of medicine. They wanted to call the shots. So anyone practicing alchemy or chemistry or herbal tinctures or potions or anything like that was deemed to be a witch. And they used the connection to Satan to demonize them. It was propaganda. It's the same propaganda that's happening right now. So to clarify, the historical link between Wicca and Satanism is absolutely unfounded, but it remains deeply embedded in many cultures. People still believe it to this day. People saw my tattoo of a pentacle and they thought I was a devil worshiper. So in addition, some Christian groups today believe that anyone who worships a god other than theirs is following Satan. It's true that Wiccans don't worship the Christian God, nor do people of many other religions around the world. Wiccan and Satanism were and are separate and entirely different systems of beliefs, practices, and ethics. I am not saying Satanism doesn't exist. I am saying it has nothing to do with Wicca. So if anyone tries to tell you that we're in cahoots with the devil and we, deal with negative energies, we deal with negative energies to get rid of them, not to summon them. We're going to touch on that in the next chapter, Believing in Magic, where science meets the craft. So hopefully you'll stick around for that.